I'm here with Victoria and Stuart, and we're going to talk about some of the very positive things we're seeing in debt financing and energy and infrastructure. So guys, an opening question, what are we seeing in the market generally at the moment?
What we're seeing is a very buoyant market. There's a lot of people out there willing to place debt in energy and infrastructure projects. It's very much a borrower's market. We're seeing a lot of activity, a lot of deals being led by the debt advisors. They're making sure that they get very good terms for their borrowers. So seeing a lot of portfolio finances, particularly in the solar and co-located BESS space. So yep, it's a very active market just now.
And some of the competitive processes we've seen, particularly over the summer, have really challenged some of the kind of more traditional structures, tested some of those boundaries, and I think there are borrowers who've got really good deals away. I
think that's right. There has been some real pushing of boundaries, the use of debt advisors across transactions, and it's a competitive market. What are we seeing in terms of newer technologies being financed, Stuart?
Well, we're seeing less established technologies such as hydrogen, and what we've seen there is the story of that. A year or so ago, we were working in the development space, getting that all set up, and we still are. But now we're getting close to hydrogen deals being routinely project financed. That's already happening in certain jurisdictions in Europe. It's likely to happen, particularly in the industrial space in the UK as well. So I think very quickly, and certainly over the next year or so, we're going to see a lot of project finance deals in hydrogen.
I think that's right, and the first projects to be debt financed in the UK, the offtake strategy is going to be key, isn't it? I think lenders like the attractiveness of a long-term single offtake strategy, but they're going to be wanting to look for a backup as well, aren't they? Which is why we're seeing them located in industrial hubs. There's already some support on the cost side, which we're seeing with the government's hydrogen production business model, and that's great. But I can't help think that we could do with some government support on the demand side as well. So maybe purchaser incentives around green hydrogen in particular.
It's interesting your comment around the offtake, because we've certainly seen that develop in the battery space as well.
We have. We'd all say it's fair to say now that batteries is an established asset class for debt financing. We've certainly been very busy in it in the last few years. Just as it's always been, the right battery supplier and the warranties are extremely important. But we're seeing a much wider range now of offtake strategies being financed, aren't we? From everything from floor agreements that we've seen previously, optimization and tolling agreements. There's a lot still going on for the right projects, and a bigger pool of lenders now than we saw a few years ago.
I think a bigger pool of lenders who understand that market as well and have got comfortable with some of the kind of nuances of the battery market. But it's interesting because the offtake being just as important, it's very resonant with the things you were talking about in terms of the hydrogen offtake as well.
Absolutely. And more established technologies, we've talked a little bit about solar, but what's going on in wind, for example?
Well, it's odd to be talking about wind in the same conversation as hydrogen and batteries, but yeah, after kind of 9 years of a hiatus, certainly in England, I know in Scotland you've been busy doing new build onshore construction projects, but it's really nice seeing onshore wind coming back to the market. And certainly the government statements over the summer, their kind of policy statements on how they're going to unlock their aspirations of doubling onshore wind to just under 30 gigawatts by 2030. So looking at streamlining some of the issues around planning, around interaction and streamlining with things like civil and aerospace infrastructure that are already in place at the moment. And of course, we've spoken about it in other series, but the repowering of existing onshore wind as well, I think, is going to be a huge contribution to it. So yeah, onshore wind has kept us busy over the summer as well.
Well, we've talked a fair bit about what we're seeing in the UK market, but further afield, Stuart, what are we seeing there?
We're seeing a lot in sub-Saharan Africa, a lot of money from funds in the UK and across Europe looking to help with the energy transition there, and quite a lot of interesting stuff, mainly solar mini-grid. So that's a situation where got particular jurisdictions, a couple of recent examples, Zambia, Zimbabwe, where it's hard to get the grid to certain villages, and because of that, what we're doing is funding mini-grid systems that can power homes, hospitals, schools over there. So that's pretty active at the moment as well.
It's interesting you're talking about some of the challenges around grid infrastructure. It's a similar issue that we've got in the UK. But what about more widely on the infrastructure side, Stuart?
That's really picking up speed again. As you know, around about 2010, the government in England effectively abolished PPP, PFI, so always acronyms in infrastructure. That meant there's a whole lot of deals that didn't get done. These models, we call it revenue finance, they continued elsewhere in the world, and actually continued in Scotland and more recently in Wales as well. But the government's just announced that they're reintroducing some form of revenue finance in England. It's mainly going to be used, and most notably for health deals. So smaller hospitals across England, there's going to be a pipeline to revenue finance these. We're looking forward to that. We think that the model they'll use will probably be based on the mutual investment model that's been used in the NHS recently in Wales, and we've just recruited Lillian Mackenzie, who's going to help lead that up as well. So it's quite an exciting time for infrastructure in the UK. I think there's going to be a lot of activity over the next few months.
And leading on from that, particularly around the healthcare, we're seeing the decarbonisation of heating as well being a particular incentive and a particular issue in that sector as well. And we've spoken before about our heat practice, but bringing things like geothermal and being able to decarbonise some of the heat supply for those types of industry will be really interesting as well.
And I suppose talking about newer technologies like heat and geothermal, at least new here in the UK, not so new in other jurisdictions like the Nordics, brings us full circle to where we started. So there's a lot going on. If you'd like to get in touch with us to talk about any of the things that we've been discussing today, we'd love to hear from you and we'd love to work with you.